Okay, the next thing we want to do is start a little reassembly of this thing, and the first thing to put back in is the plunger, and I use my spreading pliers to grip the unit, open the sides up, and I grab it and just drop it in. Make sure it seats nice. Make sure the little guide arm here is in the slots, and you're all set, and that's all there is to that. Okay, the next step we're going to attempt to do is installing the 4-finger contact in, and what I do is I take my spreading pliers and I hold the unit, opening the sides a bit, just like that, and I take the 4-fingered contact assembly, slip it in, engage the one side, and engage the other side, and make sure it's in this slot and that slot, and the fingers should all be pointing towards the pawl. Okay, the next thing we're going to want to do is, after you've assembled your 4-finger contacts into the body of the E unit, you're going to want to next try and put the roller contact assembly into the body. And make sure that you have the rollers oriented in the correct direction so that they engage the pawl of the E unit. It is possible to flip it over and put it in wrong, and then the E unit pawl will not engage the ratchet fingers and the unit will not work. Now you just got to take your time and slip the roller assembly in and onto the contact fingers. And this takes a little bit of patience, but you can do it. And it engages in the hole in each side of the E unit assembly, and you got to just move it into position, and there it is. Make sure that it's engaged, and you can give it a little squeeze to make sure it goes in. Now that's seated, and it's also in the correct orientation where the E unit pawl will engage the fingers. That may take you a couple tries. I know it does me each time, so don't feel bad if it takes you a little while to get that thing. Okay, now up to this point you want to make sure you have your contact roller assembly installed and your 4 contact finger assembly installed. Make sure the roller assembly is engaged in the hole in either side of the E unit assembly. Make sure your 4-finger contact plate is engaged in the slot on either side of the E unit assembly. Make sure that all the fingers are resting comfortably against the roller drum, not bent and all deformed. And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to attempt the final assembly of popping in the 2-finger contact assembly that fits into these slots on either side of the. Okay, the next step in this assembly is to take your 2-finger contact assembly, make sure that your contacts are aligned nicely and biased downward a little bit so that they make good contact on the roller assemblies. And this is where the real juggling act on this whole process comes in. You got to fit this in without losing your contact roller assembly and your 4-finger contacts, and it can be done. And what I usually do is engage one side and then squeeze the E unit assembly here and slip it in to the slot there and pinch it. Now what I've done here is I've popped the pin that holds the whole unit together into its hole at the same time that I squeezed that. Now this went easy. It doesn't always go this easy, and for my sake I'm glad it did, because this is hard to do. But now this entire E unit assembly is reassembled. The plunger works properly on the E unit pawl, and you're almost okay. After you have got your 2-finger contact assembly in, be sure that your contact roller assembly is seated in its particular location, that both your finger assemblies are engaged correctly in the slot, and that your plunger assembly is also in its slots, and that it does work when you move it up to actually index the roller assembly. And at this point you're about 90%. Okay, now the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to resolder the power wire to the coil into its correct location here. And I'll just take the soldering gun here, heat this up a bit, and I like to put it in through the front of the little eyelet because it makes a nice clean installation, and it leaves room on the side here for connecting the power lead from the contact rollers, so you don't have a big pile of solder and 100 connections there. And this works good each time. Okay, we're looking pretty good at this point. The final thing you're going to want to do is test this thing to make sure it works, and you can clip anywhere on the body one lead and go to your power connection here, and let's see what happens. There you go. And the E unit seems to cycle reliably each time. The rollers look good, and I wouldn't have any hesitation of installing this in any one of your classic trains, and you'll be on your way. Thanks for listening.